What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video for pre-season of 2021-22. It's a first draft video. For those of you that watched the stream earlier, it's probably quite similar to what you saw there, but I'm going to talk about why I've picked specific players, the strategy around price structure, targeting certain teams, why I've got certain players, all that good stuff. Obviously, there's a long way to go until the game week 1 deadline. The team will change, but it's good to see how it changes over the course of the next couple of months. So do give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. And I have partnered with Fantasy Football Scout for this video, which I'm really happy to say is going to continue over this summer. Loads of you always ask me, where do I get my stats from? Well, there's your answer, Fantasy Football Scout. I've been playing FPL for 11 years. I've been using their site for 11 years, right? Super helpful. 20% off at the moment. There's a link in the description below. And as I go through this video, I'm going to use the members area a little bit just to show you what it's all about as well. So let's jump into it and take a look at the defense. So remember what I said at the start. Don't get too hung up about the specific players, right? I think it's important to have a bit of a squad structure that you can kind of then change around. So in this one, for example, I've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Luke Shaw, Luca Dean. You're going to see those players a lot. They're kind of flavour of the month right now. I'm going to go through in a second why I'm not 100% sure about Luca Dean in particular in a minute. But Sanchez, Brighton numbers were really good last year, which I'll show you in a sec. Trent, obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold, do I need to say any more? And Luke Shaw, obviously, for Man United, got priced at 5.5. I was expecting them to be 6. I think they've been fairly kind, I would say, with defender pricing this year, where you can genuinely make some options and some choices between separate players. And also, if later on you're thinking, how can I get another 0.5 million out of this team, then downgrading one of those players to the kind of wealth, I would say, of 5 million options, potentially even some 4.5, is pretty decent. So I'm really liking that defence as it stands, especially because of the teams it covers, apart from maybe Luca Dean. And on the bench, I got Foster. It's just a 4 million goalkeeper. I'll just play Sanchez every single week. Fofana, because 4.5 million for Leicester just looks too good. Moda right now, but that could be Basuma instead for 4.5 million, just to get as much money into my first 11 as possible. And then I've got Brandon Williams for Man United. The talk of the town is that he is going to get a loan move. And if it's in the Premier League, then that's your 4 million defender. Kind of sorted, because you would assume if he's going to get a loan move, he's going to get plenty of minutes. Doesn't always happen like that, but right now that's what I'm counting on. And obviously, as we work through the FPL season or pre-season, then I'll start refining these player picks and go from there. One thing I want to show you, right? So this is in the Fantasy Football Scout members area. Obviously, like I said, I have partnered with them for this pre-season. You can sign up right now, 20% off. There's a link in the description. This is the season ticker. Super helpful because you can set it for attack and defense, and obviously you can list it by difficulty as well. So if I click on this, it will show you the best fixtures. So one of the things I like about Luca Dean is Everton are top of the fixture ticket, right? So they got Southampton, Leeds, Brighton, Burnley and Aston Villa. Now, they look like good fixtures on paper. Obviously, you have to sometimes differentiate between attack and defense, but for now I'm going to look overall. And I do think, like, you got Southampton have got Ings, Leeds have got a really good attack. Brighton can create chances, it's just whether or not they can finish them. Burnley, okay, that's a great fixture. And then Villa have got Grealish and Buendia as it stands, plus Ollie Watkins, etc. So it looks like quite a good attack. And then, another thing you can see in the members area, you've got loads of team stats, right? There's a hell of a lot of stuff in here, which I'm not going to have time to go through in this video, but I'll show you more and more as we go through. Like rate my team, season tickers, like I said, your own stats tables, which are super useful. But these are for overall team stats. Now, I like expected data, right? So I've got expected goals conceded, expected goals, etc. And if you order expected goals conceded, a few of the top defences are Chelsea, which we know about, Man City as well. Then Brighton. The amount of expected goals conceded from Brighton was so low last year. If that starts to regress, they're going to start seeing plenty of clean sheets. That's why Sanchez is in there. Man United were 4th, hence Luke Shaw. This is where it becomes a problem with Everton, because they're right down the bottom. They're in the bottom half of what you would call the poor defences, basically, along with Fulham. Obviously, this is from last season's data, so Fulham was in there. Aston Villa, Southampton, Burnley, etc. So I'm not quite sure about spending 5.5 million on a defence that's been relatively poor last year. Obviously, it's going to depend which manager comes in. Maybe they'll be a little bit more defensive. But right now, I'm not 100% certain on Luca Dean. But the rest of the three are looking good. Let's check out the midfield. Okay, let's start off with the cheaper midfielders first. Now, remember, because you've only got a limited budget to start the season, you've not made any money off players, etc., you have to have a few cheap players in there. Now, this is one of the places where potentially you could save some money in defence. So instead of having Fofana and Luca Dean and Shaw, you could downgrade one of Luca Dean or Shaw, probably the Everton man, not 100% sure on that, but probably him, to another 4.5, maybe a Lamptey, and double up on the Brighton defence. Just go for those great fixtures to start off with, and then kind of hope for the best. And then you could upgrade Harrison, who's 6 million, to a 7 million, like Maddison or someone like that, because Leicester fixtures are pretty good too. Like if I bring back the fixture ticker here, on Scout, you can see kind of Everton, Watford, Brighton fixtures in particular are super good, and Leicester's aren't that high up. I think Wolves, West Ham, Norwich aren't that bad to start off, so I'm not too worried about them. But Harrison I like for 6 million. Now he's listed as a Man City player right now. Spoiler alert, Jack Harrison was on loan last year to Leeds. I don't think many people knew that. It only clicked for me halfway through the season. So for 6 million, I think he's great value. Like if I look at his points for last year, he got 160 points at just, obviously now he's up to 6 million. So I think him and Rafinha are not that bad if Harrison goes back to Leeds, which apparently is going to happen. Like if I look at Leeds fixtures, yes, they start off with Man United, but then it's Everton, Burnley, Liverpool not great, then Newcastle, West Ham, Watford, Southampton. They got some really good fixtures. So for 6 and 6.5, I think that's potentially better than going for Bamford, who's 8 million as a forward. And then I've got Salah and Fernandes, right? The two things you have to do when you build your squad is pick your captains. And Salah, to be honest, could be captain for like 5 out of the first 6 game weeks. Liverpool fixtures are that good. And if you come back onto the members site, right, so I've got my own table set up. So you've got my stats tables here. I've got a bunch set up, one for defenders, one for forwards, one for midfielders. But this particular one is attackers. So this is every single player in the game. And this is, again, this is for last season's data, of course. You can change it to last 4 weeks, last 6 weeks once we're in playing, like throughout the season. But for now, I look at the whole season data. And if you go on expected goal involvement, then Salah and Bruno were the highest for the whole season. So that includes penalties, assists, general open play shots as well. It's hard to go against them, especially when, even though Harry Kane was next on the list, he's also really expensive. And I just think because of the fixtures, extra point for a goal, extra point for a clean sheet, that is why Salah and Bruno are in for me. But don't, like I said, if you want to sign up and look at these stats yourself, if you want to look at different players, cheaper players, etc., because obviously we all know the Salah and the Brunos. But if you want to look at some cheaper players, like I said, do go and sign up. I've been using this site for a long time, 20% off right now. So go and check it out, link in the description. So yeah, I think Salah and Fernandes have to be in there. To be honest, I don't think there's many times in the first 6 you captain. I wouldn't captain Bruno over Salah. So there is a conversation to be had about whether his money can be spent elsewhere. But by having him, you can then change to someone like Kevin De Bruyne instead, if you wanted to, or you can go to Son, etc. It's like a placeholder. Because if you spread the money too far around your team, it's then too hard to make transfers. So let's say Fernandes was a 9, Harrison was an 8, Rafinha was a 7, I don't know, Salah was a 10 or something like that. And you want to suddenly go up to Salah or distribute the funds to Kane. You've usually got to make extra transfers. And the Liverpool fixtures are just so good. Like, they really are ridiculous. Like, let me just read them out a sec. Norwich, Burnley, Chelsea, Leeds, Palace, Brentford, the first 6 fixtures. Chelsea is the most difficult one. Double or triple up on Liverpool looks great. And I really like that midfield. I know Harrison's currently a Man City player, but I think he's going to be a Leeds one, in which case he's got the same fixtures as Rafinha, great amount of points. He's not quite as good. The thing with Harrison is he's overlooked because of Rafinha. Rafinha's excellent value. I'm telling you, Harrison is now. Do I want to double up on Leeds? Potentially. They were one of the best attacks last year. So yeah, that's how the midfield's looking forwards time. There is a lot of forward options. I mean a lot. And they're all priced between, like, the good ones anyway, 6.5 to 8. I think at 6.5 you're really looking at maybe more pay, but probably Tony from Brentford. Then they kind of go up to 7, 7.5, 8 million. And there's a lot of choice, right? So I've got Calvert-Lewin, Antonio, Wilson, mostly because of the fixtures and just how good of players they are. But there's Watkins, there's Iheanacho, there's Bamford, there's Danny Ings. I love how many different options there are at that price, where there's not really a standout. There might be in your eyes, but this is the kind of template thing that I'm looking for. So I think Wilson and Antonio are both 7.5 and Calvert-Lewin's 8. Potentially I might want to get another 8 million in there, so it's easier to switch them about. And that's what I was talking about earlier. I don't think you have to be in a position to move for every single player in one move, but you don't want to have to make like 3 or 4 moves. Not early on in the season, because what happens is there's a lot of active players at that time. And they make more transfers, and then prices rise a bit quicker than normal. So if you're suddenly caught out, you want to get a player, you're worried about a price rise, but then someone else you want as well, but you've screwed your price structure up and stuff like that, it can be a bit of a pain, and suddenly you're like forced into a wild card. So I think having a few of these players is definitely decent. Again, I'm looking at kind of the stats for these guys. So again, this is all players for all of last season, and there's a few of these names in here that are only 8 million or less. Obviously this was their price last year, but that'll be updated to this year. Bamford is like 5th on the list. Calvert-Lewin is 7th on the list. Just behind him is Watkins. That's expected goal involvement, right? That includes penalties and non-penalties. So Watkins and Calvert-Lewin don't even have penalties, and they're ahead nearly almost all of the crowd. For their price, they're extremely good. So arguably, I should probably have Watkins in here as well. The only reason I don't have Bamford is I just think Rafinha and Harrison possibly provide better value, but we know that Bamford's on penalties. So I don't even think I would completely rule him out, but that is the kind of structure that I would go for. Calvert-Lewin was in my side last year, right? You'll all remember he was in my Game Week 1 side. I got a bit of stick for it. He was quite highly owned by the time the game week came around, right, when the deadline passed, and he did really well. Forget what happened at the end of this season, etc. His numbers for the whole season were pretty decent. Again, you can go and check it out in the Fantasy Football Scout members area. Again, there is a link in the description below if you want to check that out. But he was excellent, and I think he will be again this season. We'll have to wait and see who the manager is, what kind of style they play, but he's going to be the main man up front, you would assume. And I like the fixtures. With Antonio, there's obviously a worry about his injury status or general fitness concerns, I should say. West Ham are in Europe now as well, so will they sign another striker? Will that striker become the main man, etc.? We don't know yet, but that's worth looking at. And obviously Wilson is also on penalties as well. And I know, like, when you think about Newcastle, you don't think of this great attacking team, but they did all right under Steve Bruce in the end. I'm not saying Newcastle fans that you should stick with him, but I think he did okay. And Wilson did extremely well. So if they can improve and he can stay fit as well with penalties, I think he looks like a good buy as well. So I think between now and Game Week 1, this is going to change, of course. The general thing I find is when you start making changes is to try and get a bit of money out of defence to improve the attack. So, for example, having someone like Jack Grealish would be really nice. So going down from a Luka Dean to a 4.5 could be good. There's so many good value defenders that even going without Trent Alexander-Arnold is potentially an option. The only thing for me is just Chelsea fixtures. Like if we have a quick look at them, like if we change this sort by difficulty and put the hardest ones at the top, like Chelsea are quite near the top. Palace, Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa and Spurs. Just not fantastic fixtures for Chelsea. But their defence is one of the best in the league, right? As we saw earlier, them and Man City were both at the top on the team stats table that I showed you on Scout. So Chilwell's an option for me at 6 million. I definitely want to own him by game week. I think it's 7 because their fixtures get really good. But right now, that is the first draft. Do what I know you're going to do anyway. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So there we go. That is it for this one. First draft video done. Please do give a like and hit that subscribe button if you are new around here. Plenty more content to come over this FPL preseason. It won't be every single day because there's still Euros and stuff to do. Plus we are like 52 days out or something like that from the start of the season. So there's plenty of stuff to talk through. But I will have content all through preseason and all through the season as well, right? So if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, make sure you do. Trying to hit 200k by game week 1, 250k by the end of the season would be amazing. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you haven't already checked out Fantasy Football Scout, there is a ton of data there, loads of tools to play around with. There's also going to be an update and a refresh to the graphics and stuff like that as well. There's like 150 plus members articles too. If you want to sign up, please do. Link in the description. Click that link. That's my link. That will take you through and you'll be able to sign up. And like I said, I genuinely have been using the site for like 11 years. So I can absolutely promise you this is the one that I've used. This is where I get pretty much all my stats from, and the stats tables and stuff are just super handy. So get signed up in that link in the description below. I'll be back tomorrow with another FPL video. Now it's live. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.